Good afternoon, you guys. It's your boy Ben Mahari here, representing Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to the entire LDBC and the basketball community. You know what I mean? Um, don't miss basketball conversations every Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, is where we discuss basketball related topics, news, debates, and everything else in the world of basketball. You understand what I'm saying? Plus, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to get all the latest notifications when I start dropping videos and live streams. But before I start off the video, I wanted to give a personal thank you to Miss Boxing for her $25 donation in the Cash App. Appreciate you, sister. And also, I want to also give a huge thanks to Mr. Mister Two TZ. Thank you for that $5 donation, and just appreciate it for the love and contributions those too. And also one of my loyal supporters, Frank Goss, foremost, donated $10 to the Cash App too as well. I want to also give him a shout out for him as well. He's been one of the most loyal people on this channel though too. One of my first subscribers on this channel. So I want to personally thank him for that. So if you guys wanted to donate any amount to the equivalent to the value of this channel, I'm going to post in the Cash App and the PayPal link underneath the description box if you want to donate any value to the value of the channel though too as well. So with all this out the way, let's get down to business here, shall we? So, I wanted to personally talk about this one thing that the Celtics have done for a long time, and they know this too. And I'm talking about how the Celtics disrespected Ray Allen, and they basically know it, all right? The bottom line is this. The Celtics brought in Ray Allen during draft night in 2007 with the Seattle Supersonics, all right? And then also brought in Kevin Garnett in the promise to help Paul Pierce win his championship that eluded him throughout his entire time with the Celtics. And they did. But also, in a way, Ray Allen developed a close relationship with Rajon Rondo, who was one of the young players on that team. And so they were doing the same routine, same shooting, you know, during the shoot arounds, everything else. You know what I mean? And that was okay. And they were pretty close at the hip. But something significantly changed, in the years after the championship. Okay. Rondo was improving, but his attitude towards the coaching staff and towards Allen, you know, began to change. And it started back in 2009 when Doc Rivers and Celtics GM and president Danny Ainge proposed a trade with the Phoenix Suns to try to trade both Allen and Rondo for Leandro Barbosa and Amari Stoudemire, and also a 14th overall pick in the 2010 NBA draft. And when Allen got word of that, um, he basically called up Rondo and said, "Listen, you know, they're trying to trade us to Phoenix because you and Danny and Doc don't get along. So whatever you can do, try to fix that." And then Rondo kind of thought for some reason that, he thought that he had something against it or there were some issues with them. And Rondo has had that issue with Allen ever since that trade rumor that happened. All right, and the other thing too is that, you know the big notion that Rondo pretty much told him straight up to his face, like, listen, I'm the one that carried you to the championship during a heated argument, and basically says like, listen, I'm the one who carried you to the championship, and pretty much like, what are you talking about? That's what Allen was pretty much was trying to say. All right, and ever since then, the deteriorated relationship really affected the chemistry of that team. And everybody who covered the NBA and everyone that's watched the NBA for a long time, like me, we all know that. Because listen, if Danny Ainge wasn't flirting around with trade rumors nonstop, I think that they would have been fine. But because Danny Ainge kept doing this to Rondo and to Allen every single year, it really was ruining the chemistry and the relationship of that team. And so when that happened, pretty much the relationship began to begin to deteriorate within our very eyes. And then what really solidified it was that during an argument when Brandon Bass was arguing with each other, okay, and so back during the game against Indiana, pretty much Ray Allen and Rondo went at it again, And then basically Rondo went on and said, "You're jealous of me." And then Allen said, "What? Jealous of you for what? You need to stop BSing everyone on the team and play every night instead of when you choose to play." And pretty much Rondo pretty much yelled at them, cussed them out, and pretty much said, I'm gonna get your bleep out of here this summer." And and then Allen was pretty much said, "Dude, I'm going to be gone before you have any say so. I'm out of here." And that was just pretty much it. And what really made things really worse was later on and during the season, okay, pretty much the Celtics kept playing around with trade rumors nonstop back and forth, and then really was solidified during 2011 2012 the 2010 2011 season. Okay, I should say 2012, when the Celtics decided to put Avery Bradley in the starting lineup and put Ray Allen on the bench, which absolutely was ridiculous. All right, because listen, before Ray Allen left to Miami, he said that to the Miami Herald, he said he was very loyal to the city and loved the city. But when it came down to keep me in a uniform, they did everything they could, not want they didn't making him want not wanting him to come back. Okay, and so listen, they know this. Listen, Rondo, Garnett, Pierce, they know this. They knew that Danny Ainge and Doc Rivers was basically messing around and basically putting them in trade rumors nonstop. Everybody know this. And what really surprised me was when I read Ray Allen's book, and it's an interesting read, which is very, very interesting. See, back during the what was it, the 2011-2012 season, the Celtics were actually flirting around, probably wanting to trade Rajon Rondo to the Hornets for Chris Paul, and pretty much they were willing to give him up at by any means necessary. Okay, and so the problem was that Chris Paul wasn't going to be guaranteed to sign long term with the Boston Celtics, because at that time Chris Paul was going to be a free agent, and he could have went anywhere else. And so the other thing that I didn't learn that I also learned from reading Ray Allen's book was is that it pretty much discussed how Doc Rivers pretty much killed the trade because he didn't want his friend Monty Williams to deal with the headaches of Rajon Rondo, which was like, really, really, Doc Rivers. That's the second time you've done that, because if you go back to when Doc Rivers was in Orlando, all right, when Tim Duncan was very close to signing with the Orlando Magic, and when Duncan asked if he can have his family with him during the team playing, Doc Rivers said no, and that was pretty much the end of that. All right. Duncan ended up re-signing back with the Spurs, and the rest was history. All right. But let me stick to the subject in hand here, okay? Let me stick to the subject in hand. The point is this, all right? This pettiness against Ray Allen, all this pettiness needs to stop. All right, it really does. And the fact that Kendrick Perkins is coming around here making Ray Allen look bad, trying to spread out, some of these stories that should be kept in wraps, makes it really, really worse. Because listen, Kendrick Perkins knows that some of the stuff that is in the locker room needs to stay in the locker room. All right. And my point is that listen, Ray Allen was going to be a free agent, and he saw the writing on the wall that if he stayed with the Celtics for $12 million, he wasn't going to get much playing time, and they were going to trade him regardless, because the Celtics were not going to give him any roles on the team because they just previously signed Jason Terry to fill that six-man sharpshooting role during that offseason, and they were going to give Allen more money, but it was basically a hollow gesture at best. And so that's why he took his shooting touch to South Beach for less money, because he knew he was going to get a role on the team and he's going to get more significant playing time. And I don't blame Ray Allen one bit. And they call this a betrayal. Okay, let me ask you this: how did you felt when I would just ask, Garnett and Pierce and Rondo and Doc Rivers in their face? Okay, you call that a betrayal, but how are you going to sit here and say that Danny Ainge basically traded Rondo to the Mavericks and then traded both Pierce and Garnett to the Brooklyn Nets after the 2012-2013 season? How are you going to explain that? Pierce made that Danny Ainge was trying to make the team younger again, and basically blew up that team just to get younger once again with all them draft picks that Brooklyn took. Because that, looking back on it now, it was the worst trade that you could ever come up with. All those draft picks that they gave up, You know what I mean? With the Brooklyn Nets to get those aging veterans there on that team, literally made no sense. And looking back, if you pretty much helped the Celtics get those young guys of both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum now. Looking back on that history. My point is this. Ray Allen has every right to feel what he wants to feel. All right. And this pettiness that they've had over these years, they need to be grown men, sit down and talk about it. Now, Paul Pierce did his part, but Ray Allen has to do it with KG and Rajon Rondo. KG needs to let go mostly. Because listen, all this time you're talking about, oh, he betrayed us. Oh, he left us to the enemy. Bro, shut up. Just stop, all right? This is just beyond pettiness coming out of KG. And also with Rajon Rondo, how are you going to explain that you played with the Celtics, won a championship, and ended up going to Lakers later on in your career? Like there's a reason why you've been traded by so many teams because Rondo is pretty much a headache to deal with. Because ever since he left the Celtics, when he got traded to the Mavericks, he only played one season with the Mavericks, and that too was a mess because Rajon Rondo's attitude created more problems in the locker room. I mean, he spent 1 year in Dallas, 1 year in Sacramento, and 1 year in Chicago, 1 year in New Orleans. Do you want me to keep going? And now he's with the Lakers. Like, think about it. At least 6 different teams in his career. All right. Miss me with the BS. Miss me with that. Because at the end of the day, the Celtics disrespected Ray Allen because they wanted to try to trade him and get something out of him. But at the same time, if you would have just been straight up with them and just said, listen, we're going to trade you and just complete the trade, I think they would have been better off. But if you continuously kept playing with these trade rumors left and right, how was Ray Allen supposed to feel? And he has every right to feel that way, the way he should. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. Because I believe that if those trade rumors did not exist, and if KG didn't injure his knee in 2009, I think that the Celtics would have repeated as champions because they were entering their prime and they were ready to take over. But just injuries happen, and those trade rumors and ego on that team really drove that team apart. Because after they won their championship, it just looked as if they lost their hunger, they lost their drive to repeat again. You know what I mean? And sure, the KG injury has something to do with that. But if KG was still healthy, I think they would have repeated as champions. And then 2010 was their last chance to grab another ring. But by that time, the Lakers had figured the Celtics out and they beat them in 7 games. And then after that, the team got progressively worse season after season. And then they got older. And then basically Danny Ainge did what he did and broke that team apart. So they all of them dudes need to get over it. They need to sit down with Ray Allen and include him back in their inner circle. Because for them not to include Ray Allen in there, who played a significant role on that championship team, is beyond ridiculous. And the way they trashed him over the years, it was just left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth, including me. That actually respected Ray Allen's game and what he's been able to do throughout his entire career. You know what I mean? Without Ray Allen making them shots with the Celtics, they don't win that championship. And everyone who knows basketball knows that. All right, including those other star players. So this is all ego. But I think somewhere down the line, I think that with the more reunions that do come, I think they'll be able to patch up this beef and basically move on with their lives. You know what I mean? Because this is just beginning ridiculous at this particular point. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you agree what I'm saying about Ray Allen and how he's been treated with the Celtics, or do you have a different take? But let me know what you guys think.